Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been paying any attention to the corporate world lately, you've definitely noticed a massive seismic shift happening right under our feet. Today, we're diving into the evolution of agile leadership. The way we manage, the way we guide teams, and how we structure organizations, it's changing at absolute breakneck speed. What worked 10, 5, or even just 2 years ago is rapidly becoming completely obsolete. And as we'll see today, holding on to those past paradigms isn't just inefficient anymore, it's actually a direct threat to organizational survival. So grab a coffee and get ready, because we are about to break down exactly what's happening and why.
Old leadership models are failing fast. Listen, this is not some slow generational transition where we have decades to prepare. No, we are standing on a burning platform right now. The ground is literally falling out from under traditional leaders who are just trying to maintain the status quo. If your strategy right now relies on business as usual, well, it's unequivocally a losing strategy. The sheer velocity of change in the modern workplace has completely outpaced those rigid 20th century structures. So what exactly is breaking? Let's take a look.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. 4 broken leadership postures, and what is breaking right now?
First up, we've got waiting for approval up a chain versus fast decision-making. Back in the day, that classic command and control structure was the absolute gold standard, right? It was this necessary safeguard to minimize risk and ensure quality. But today, it's just a massive bottleneck. It's honestly like waiting for a fax in the age of instant messaging. Command and control absolutely kills speed. In today's landscape, teams that cannot make decisions fast will inevitably lose to the teams that can. Agility is the new competitive advantage, and that old chain of command is just dragging companies down.
Next, we have the old posture of "I have all the answers," colliding head-on with the reality of a highly complex market. Let's be real for a second here. No single leader can out-know a complex market. It is practically impossible today given the sheer volume of data and those rapid shifts in consumer behavior we see every day. Yet some leaders are still trying to scale this outdated posture. And what happens? Well, they end up isolated, highly defensive, and frankly, wrong way more often they'd ever like to admit. The whole know-it-all posture, it just doesn't scale anymore.
Now look at how loyalty through hierarchy is being completely replaced by a workforce that actually has options, information, and a voice. The days of expecting blind loyalty just because of your fancy title on the org chart are gone. Poof. Today's professionals have incredible options, they have access to infinite information about market rates, and they absolutely have a voice. If you try to wield authority without first establishing foundational trust, you aren't building loyalty, you're literally just accelerating turnover. People will simply leave and go find a culture that actually respects their autonomy and intelligence.
And this brilliantly illustrates a profound truth about modern strategy. A 5-year strategy set in stone becomes a 5-year mistake in disguise. Take a second to really let that sink in. Rigid long-term plans simply cannot survive dynamic markets. If your roadmap is completely inflexible, you aren't actually planning for success. You're just rigidly committing to a course of action that the market might completely invalidate by tomorrow morning. Strategy today has to be a living, breathing framework, not some monument carved in stone.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 2, the new agile leadership, and exactly what is replacing the old model. The first major shift? Moving from control to coach. The old way was all about micromanagement, right? Dictating every single move, constantly watching over people's shoulders. But the new agile leader actively coaches. You aren't there to control their every move. You're there to clear roadblocks, provide resources, and guide them toward finding their own brilliant solutions. You're developing their capabilities rather than just treating them like tiny cogs in a giant machine.
Next is the absolutely critical shift from demanding silence to fostering psychological safety. That broken old model, it valued compliance and quiet. Employees were basically expected to keep their heads down and mouths shut. But modern leaders know that silence is actually dangerous. They build environments where teams feel completely safe speaking up, sharing wild ideas, and, most importantly, calling out when something is wrong without any fear of retaliation. Then, we have a major mindset shift in how we view changing course, moving from seeing it as a weakness to embracing it as a core skill. Under the old paradigm, pivoting or altering a strategy was heavily criticized as a lack of conviction, but not anymore. Navigating dynamic markets absolutely requires pivoting based on new information. Changing course when the data demands it isn't weak at all. It's exactly what strong, agile leadership looks like today. Finally, in this new paradigm, we see leaders completely trading authority for genuine influence. You simply cannot mandate excellence through top-down authority anymore. It just doesn't work. Successful modern leaders know that to truly drive their teams forward, they have to inspire them. They use influence, empathy, and vision to bring people along with them. They don't have to constantly point to their title to get things done because their team voluntarily follows their lead based on mutual respect and shared goals. Which brings us to our final section, leading beyond the org chart, the future of leadership. For the crucial point is this: the traditional org chart isn't completely disappearing. Obviously, companies still need some level of structure to actually function, but thriving leaders have learned to lead without needing it. The leaders who will define the future, the ones who are going to thrive next, aren't just the ones who ruthlessly climb the ladder step by step. They're the diverse, modern voices who lead through influence and empathy, completely regardless of where their name sits on a piece of paper. They don't need a formal title to mobilize a team, solve a complex problem, or affect real, lasting change.
Which brings me to a really important question for all of you. What's one leadership habit you've had to unlearn? Look, this evolution we've explored today requires a massive amount of unlearning from all of us. I want to invite you, and especially the rising African women in leadership who are just brilliantly reshaping these modern corporate narratives right now, to reflect on this deeply. What old postures have you shed to become the agile leader you are today? Really think about it, share your unlearning journey, and let's keep challenging what it means to truly lead. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing,